We are counting down the days to New Year's, so you might be getting a few invitations in the mail, but before you hang them on your fridge or toss them off on the counter, have you ever thought how much work goes into a simple invitation? Well, we're here at the Western New York Book Art Center with Krista, and we're talking about printing. Now, Krista, before we get into your New Year's party and how these invitations are made, give me a little premise of what the Western New York Book Art Center is all about.
Sure. Well, we're a nonprofit educational center, and we're devoted to the art of the book. So what that means is we focus on any kind of art making process that goes into making a book. Things like paper making, book binding, print making, a lot of letterpress printing, old style, and screen printing.
So when we're talking about an invitation like this, seems pretty simple, but how much work goes into making something like this?
A lot of setup, a lot of printing, and a lot of figuring and math. So there's a lot of small working parts that go into it.
All right, well, you took care of the setup. I think the printing press is all ready for us to take a look. So why don't we head downstairs and find out what goes into a piece of paper that looks like this. Well, we've been talking about how this invitation is made. We're downstairs in the basement with Chris, who's gonna run the press for us and explain how it's made. So what is the first step in making this invitation here, Chris?
Well, you take a number of individual pieces and you assemble them into a form. So if you take a close look at the form here, we have small pieces that are made of metal as well as wood. Each individual letter as well as piece of ornament is its own single piece. So we assemble all those into a form, and then the form is loaded into the press for printing. And if you look at the invitation itself is actually two colors. You can only print one color at a time.
So the invitation's a little bit small, so we're gonna move over to the press right over here and print something a little bit bigger so you can actually see how it's working. Now, before we actually print, we've set it all up, you explained it to me, but give me a rundown of what's gonna happen when we print a piece of paper.
Absolutely. In the press right now, we have some wood type, which is a little bit larger, some metal type, again, all individual elements. The press has been inked up and it's on these oscillating rollers. It's very, very tacky so that it gives us a nice clean print. And we're going to load a sheet of paper up top. As I roll the press forward, it'll carry it over the form, make the print, and spits it out at the other end, and we're all done.
And we're using a machine that's quite old, right?
Absolutely. This press is from 1927. It's called a Vandercook proofing press.
All right, so why don't we load that piece of paper and we can see how everything comes together.
Slide a sheet of paper to the front, and as I roll the paper forward, like I said, it'll carry it right over the form, make a print, and you're done.
Now, Chris, I can imagine that there's a lot of interest in making something by hand like this. Do you offer workshops or classes?
Absolutely. We offer workshops in letterpress, in book binding, in screen printing, so you can actually come in and learn all these analog methods of design.
All right, why don't we head back upstairs now that we know how the invitation is made? Let's find out a little bit about the party. Well, now, Krista, I think it's safe to say now that we know what goes into making the invitation, we can RSVP for the party. Tell me a little bit about how you're bringing in New Year's here.
Sure, we'll have live music with David Kane, complimentary beer and wine, and a champagne toast at midnight, and this great art auction with all the artwork on the walls behind us.
So we're standing in an art gallery, but for New Year's, this kind of all becomes the party space.
Yep. It's a really great party.
So, you know, a lot of people want to bring in the New Year's with a countdown. You're so close to where the ball drops in Buffalo. Are you going to be able to see it here?
Yeah, we have a really great view of the ball drop. We have 2 floors here. You can see the ball dropping from either floor.
All right, well, it seems like the perfect way to bring in the New Year's is warm, not crowded, and surrounded by great people and great art. Thank you for having us today, Krista.